welcome to our daily news program coming to you from Canal, Algérie, and in today's major headlines. The President of the Republic decides to increase the solidarity allowance and to go on with the current strategy meant to improve the citizens' living conditions while chairing the Council of the Ministers' meeting. The Syrian Foreign Affairs Minister in Algiers and Algeria's efforts to bring back Syria to the Arab League summit are once again highlighted. And intense activities held by the Army General of the People's National Army during the Defense and Security exhibition held in Brazil. Good evening and welcome back. First up in our news, the President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, chaired a meeting of the Council of Ministers devoted to the review of retirement pension and joint proposals between several ministerial sectors, alongside two presentations related to sports in primary schools and the preparations for the 2023 pilgrimage or Hajj season. Further details with Melissa Kubash.
After opening the ceremony, the President of the Republic listened to the Prime Minister's presentation related to the outcome of the government's activities for the past 2 weeks. The President gave the following guidelines regarding the review of retirement and solidarity pension. The Council of Ministers approved the modification of the law related to retirement and adapted to the exceptional increase in allowances and pensions, which were already approved by the President, reiterating his commitment to continue the strategy of improving the standard of living of citizens. The President also decided in a first stage to raise the solidarity pension to 12,000 dinars for those receiving 10,000 dinars and 7,000 to those currently receiving 3,000. Concerning the preparations for the 2023 pilgrimage or Hajj season, the Council agreed to reduce the cost of Hajj to 770,000 instead of 850,000. As for school sports, the President appreciated the implementation of a real plan for school sports to open new horizons for young people. The President also instructed the start of hiring operations of 12,000 specialized graduated teachers to supervise school sports. The creation of a General Directorate for School Sports and the Sector of National Education, the President of the Republic instructed the Minister of Higher Education to restore the glory of sports universities by launching team sports championships. As for the urban police, the President emphasized that the urban police is an urgent necessity regarding the chaos in the urban field and the strict absence of monitoring and follow-up. The establishment of a joint committee between the interior, housing and urban sectors in order to come out with a law regulating the work and tasks of the urban police. As a main task, the urban police will have the strict control of documents and their conformity, whether related to new constructions across municipalities, neighborhoods, or urban expansions. The urban police will be placed under ministerial guardianship, and its members will have the possibility to be assisted by the General Directorate of National Security and the National Gendarmerie. Regarding the presentation on seawater desalination projects, the President of the Republic stressed the need to generalize seawater desalination stations across the entire Algerian coastline as a strategic plan, especially that the technology used in these stations became purely Algerian. Ensure that water is distributed in the face of rainfall fluctuations at the national and international levels. The President ordered the review of management plans of water distribution so as to ensure an equal distribution among neighborhoods. The President also ordered the use of the latest technologies to regulate water consumption with an aim to preserve this vital substance. At the end of the presentation, the President thanked the Minister of Higher Education for training engineers and technicians in the field of water desalination so as to reinforce our human capacities in the station. As for the achievement of a media city, the President affirmed the creation of the city in line with the development taking place in the field of audiovisual globally. Grant priority to the development of national television and radio because they are the locomotive for the renewal of the audiovisual scene in Algeria. redress the delay recorded in the communication sector at all levels, given the distinctive dynamism witnessed by many sectors. At the end, the Council of Ministers approved decrees related to the appointment and termination of duties of senior state officials.
In other news, the President of the Republic received on Sunday the Foreign and Expats Minister of the Syrian Arab Republic, Faisal al-Maqdad, who conveyed a message from the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. This took place in the presence of the Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad Minister Ahmed Attaf. Later on, the Syrian minister made the following statement. Let's have a listen.
Algeria, in its capacity as the chair of the Arab Summit, assumed huge responsibilities and defended the Arab interests and sided with Syria during all the past challenges. Syria also sided with Algeria during the Black Decade to fight terrorism and previously colonization. During the meeting with the president, I had the feeling of being one people. Algeria has always been with the Arab interests. The president confirmed that Algeria would never let down Syria, and likewise did Syria during all circumstances. I would like to express my gratitude to the Algerian people for their support during the earthquake that hit Syria. The first rescue teams were Algerians. The Algerian humanitarian aid was highly appreciated and beyond expectation. Algeria did all what was possible to face the Zionist plans.
In a related context, the visit of the Syrian Foreign Minister Faisal al-Maqdad to Algiers represents an important step for promoting bilateral relations, affirming once again Algeria's positions and its efforts aiming to bring Syria back to the Arab League. Melissa Kubash reports.
After an absence of 11 years at the regional Arab scene, Syria can now reintegrate the headquarters of the Arab League, a step long advocated by Algeria, which reiterated this wish during the 31st session of the Arab Summit of Algiers held last November. The Algerian diplomacy, under the directives of the President of the Republic, have always called for consultations with the Arab League's members so as to bring back Syria into the organization, a proposition which was warmly welcomed by numerous members. Algeria always insisted on the importance of maintaining a responsible vision on brotherly countries.
على الجزائر أولا، وهذا ما تقوم به أنها وفية لمبادئها. لا نقبل أن يمس أي شعب عربي وأي دولة عربية بتواطؤ من أي كان. ثانيا، سوريا من الدول المؤسسة للجامعة العربية، من أعرق الدول العربية امتدادها حتى الدولة الأموية.
Algeria, always faithful to its non-interference diplomacy in countries' internal affairs, it still didn't endorse the decision of dismissing Syria from its Arab space. Algeria is also the only country that kept its embassy open with a diplomatic representation, and by this refusing the isolation of Syria, taking into account the Algerian community that decided to stay in that country. The latest earthquake demonstrated Algeria's immense solidarity towards this country. It didn't hesitate to break the blockade and bring help to the Syrian people. The comeback of Syria is considered as a way to recover the mistake taken at the beginning of the crisis, hoping to find solutions to other Arab crises.
And the working visit of the Army General Saïd Ghariha, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, to the Defense and Security Exhibition LAD 2023, organized from April the 11th until the 14th, wound up. Let's hark back to its futuring steps with Ines Gillo.
Army General Saïd Ghariha met with the Brazilian Defense Minister José Museu Monteiro, to whom he handed over a letter from the President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, addressed to his Brazilian counterpart, Lula da Silva. On this occasion, the Chief of Staff of the People's National Army affirmed that the President of the Republic pays particular attention to the dynamics aiming at promoting the Algerian-Brazilian relations in all sectors, especially in the field of military cooperation. He also assured that his presence at the LAD 2023 exhibition denotes the commitment of the High Command of the People's National Army to develop its military cooperation with the BRICS member country, such as Brazil, within the framework of a frank and pragmatic exchange. The visit of the Army General Said Shingriha was marked by several meetings, including that of the Saudi Chief of Staff, which centered on promoting bilateral cooperation in all fields. Army General Said Shingriha also had several meetings with the officials of Indian companies taking part in the exhibition and had a working session with the officials of Brazilian aircraft manufacturer Embraer and visited the company's factories in Sao Paulo. The Chief of Staff of the People's National Army then visited the various stands of the LAD 2023 exhibition to be updated of the latest technological developments in armaments and military industries in order to speed up the modernization process of the People's National Army.
In another development, Algeria expressed its astonishment at the casual and thoughtless decision of the chairman of the African Union Commission, Mohamed Faki, to receive the so-called credentials of a Moroccan diplomat falsely presenting herself as permanent representative of the Arab Maghreb Union for the African Union, according to a statement released by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This irresponsible behavior is all the more inadmissible that it comes after urgent steps of the Algerian authorities to the African Union Commission in order to consider this alleged nomination, which, in accordance to the text governing the functioning of the Arab Maghreb Union, does not fall within the prerogatives of the Secretary General of the Arab Maghreb Union, and whose final mandate has definitely ended. By accepting this crude protocol, the President of the African Union Commission is given to us an unhealthy manipulation operation conceived and implemented for purposes that do not serve the interests of the Arab Maghreb Union and the African Union, to which Algeria reiterates its unwavering commitment. Algeria expects the Commission of the AU to clarify its final position on this flagrant and unacceptable violation of protocol and the rules without a prejudice to possible measures dependent on the evolution of this case, concluded the communique. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad follows, in coordination with the Algerian Embassy in Khartoum, the development of the situation of the Algerian community in Sudan, that in light of the unfortunate events which took place in the Sudanese capital, affirming that no Algerian national is on the list of the injured. The Foreign Minister called on our community to be careful and abide by the security measures and stay in touch with the Algerian Embassy. The clash continued between the Sudanese army and the rapid support forces. 10 were reported dead and more than 600 were injured. Meanwhile, the calls for restraint have multiplied across the world. Ines Kalu reports.
Clashes in Sudan continue for the second running day between army forces and the support forces. At least 60 civilians, including 3 aid workers, have lost their lives in the fighting. The World Food Programme announced the suspension of its operations in the country after the death of 3 of its members. The street fighting and the presence of armored vehicles blocking the roads are preventing any movement in the capital Khartoum. Smoke columns are rising everywhere, including from state institutions. A catastrophic situation which prompted the Arab League to hold an emergency meeting on Sunday. The Peace and Security Council of the African Union has also convened an emergency meeting. Several countries and organizations have called on the rival parties to calm down, show restraint, and use dialogue and wisdom to overcome the differences. Algeria, which currently holds the presidency of the Arab League Council at the summit level, has called on all Sudanese sides to cease fighting and allow dialogue in order to overcome the differences, no matter how complex they may be, and to work in the interest of the supreme interest of the homeland.
Via conferences and activities, the National Day of Knowledge was celebrated everywhere in Algeria, and the artificial intelligence crowns this week of high importance. Story by Najah Diyar.
It has become a source of information, documentation and work tool for many students. The artificial intelligence offers many solutions that can make their lives and university courses easier. I invented this device which allows to control the irrigation system in the agricultural field from a distance. I developed 13 programs. We can detect any damage via our smartphones, and all this thanks to the artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is data and codes of questions and their answers. It is not complicated. Here we are making a small presentation about the prompt engineering, which is a technique used for better understanding and contacting the artificial intelligence models. The artificial intelligence patient starts at a very young age, and children can learn and develop their scientific skills through fun workshops and educational games. I have designed a mythological satellite that I can control through my tablet. Artificial intelligence has revolutionized our way of understanding on this Learning Week that the University of Algiers is organizing in order to raise awareness of the impact of this technology used almost in all fields.
And as part of Ramadan atmosphere, we wind up our news with the national competition organized by the Great Mosque of Paris, where the children compete to become the best reciter of the Holy Quran. Story by Afaf Belhouchet, taken up by Najah Diyar.
It is the big day for the youngsters gathered in the Grand Mosque of Paris. These children aged between 10 to 15, ready to do their best to win this national competition of the Holy Quran ambassadors. This competition is very important for our youth who live here in France and who are deeply attached to the Holy Quran learning thanks to their parents. These young people are truly ambassadors of the Holy Quran memorization and of our beloved country Algeria. And I would like to dedicate this promotion to Ryan and to his mother's memory. May she rest in peace. Ryan is one of the candidates whom, despite the loss of his mother's pain, he carried on with his memorization to be later on crowned with success.
ليس عليك هداهم ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء.
It was a bit difficult for me due to some circumstances I've been through recently. Thank God I could revise and prepare myself. 3 candidates were chosen for the finals that will take place in Algeria. The competition was so difficult. The participants were better than what I expected. Thank God I won. This contest is a tradition in Ramadan's program of the Grand Mosque of Paris. It is the first time for this competition to be associated with the national competition with a mixed jury of locals and some who come from Algeria. The competition was aired live on Ida'at al-Quran.
And with that, our today's news edition comes to a close. Thank you for joining us, and goodbye.